Good. Okay, so back to this. Why and how he does it. Welcome, Henry. Hello, and welcome to Polk Salad, where we will have a bounty of conversation today about music and the arts. I am very happy to be here, and I'm so happy that you're joining us today, especially. I would imagine that whether you're watching this show in the morning or at night or in the afternoon, you've heard at some point in your day music already. Maybe you're listening to music now. Music is all around us. It influences almost everything we do, almost every event that we see. And today we're going to be talking to two very instrumental, no pun intended, gentlemen who help bring music to our area right here in Polk County in ways that affect us all and that benefit us all and that have far-reaching ramifications. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. We have with us Kurt Dugan from the Polk County Life Festival, and we'll have Keller Coker, who is a professor here at Western Oregon University and also the director of the Smith Fine Arts series. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, thanks for joining us and staying here with us on Polk Salad this morning. This is going to be, like I said before, a show about music and cultural events that happen right here under our very noses. And our first guest this morning, Kurt Dugan, is going to tell us about a very special event that's happening for the first time, not the last, right here at Polk County Fairgrounds. So good morning, Kurt.
Good morning.
Tell us about the Polk County Folklife Festival.
Well, it's going to be an annual event, and it's going to be March 7th this year at the Polk County Fairgrounds. It starts at 10 in the morning and goes till 10 in the evening. We have 3 areas that will have activities in. The main building will have a musician stage, a band stage, along with craft vendors, a food court, and we'll have a beer and wine garden with Airlie Winery and Rogue Ale. And in the building directly behind that, we have a performing arts stage. And
so you have 2 stages?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And that will be the performing arts. And then in another building, we have the children's craft courtyard. And then on the other half of that wing of that building, we're going to have a jam center for acoustic jamming.
All day?
All 10 to 10.
10 to 10. And so the performing arts, the main stage, I imagine, is music and bands.
Correct.
And then the performing arts are dancers? Or
The performing arts, currently we have the Cherry City Cloggers, and they do Appalachian clogging,
Love
and
it.
they are really,
Love it.
really good.
Yeah.
And we have the Corvallis Belly Dancing Guild.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Cayley Society of the Valley is going to do some Irish set dances. And then we have the Oregon Old Time Fiddlers, the youth group, because we really want to support youth in this festival also, because this festival is for all ages, and that's where we want to keep it. And then in the evening, we're going to have a old-time square dance.
Oh, how fun.
Taught by Truman Price, who's also going to be performing just ahead of that dance.
So is he a caller?
He's a caller,
So
he's
it's
a fiddle
for any
player.
like me who, just follows directions fairly well.
Oh, yeah.
I could show up and square dance.
If you've never square danced, you'll be dancing and having a good time. Yeah, and Truman's been doing it for a long time. He's very, very good at it.
Now, how did this come about, this Polk County Folklife?
Well, I've been playing fiddle for over 30 years, and I've been in 2 bands. The first one was the Lucky Meat River String Band, and now I'm currently in a band called the Orchard Mountain String Band. And I've played a lot of festivals.
Which has a CD out, right?
Yeah, we have a CD out.
I've been enjoying that CD.
Oh, good. Glad
I'm
you have.
humming along with it now.
Yeah, it's called Pickin' in the Orchard.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But kind of lost my train of thought there.
How we got started.
Oh,
with
how we
Polk
got
County
started. Yeah.
Folklife.
So I've been to a lot of festivals. I've played a lot of festivals. All kinds of fairs and stuff like that, and wanted to have a festival that would be like none other. And the whole idea of this was to bring the different ethnicities of our community locally and up and down the Mid-Willamette Valley
So it really
together.
is folk life, not just
Yep.
a certain type of folk music, but
Absolutely.
folk life. That's
Right.
great.
And that's kind of what happens around this area is, we have St. Patrick's Day, or you
Mm-hmm.
have, Cinco de Mayo. But with this, we're going to bring different cultures into one location. So, if you're a bluegrass fan but you've never heard reggae, you're going to get that opportunity.
Nice, nice. And all these groups are from in and around Polk County.
As far north as Portland, our main act is Lisa Ornstein and Dan Compton. They're both nationally, and she's internationally known. They live in Portland. We have one group out of Corvallis, and another one kind of up in the Summit area, and then the rest of them are local. But I call them
Good.
local because they're Mid-Valley, right?
Right, yeah. That's the thing about music. It's like art, doesn't know any boundaries.
That's right.
And you're never, as you well said, too old or too young to play.
No.
Kids
no.
start humming pretty early on in the crib, and you can go out playing, I think.
And that's
right?
why I told you need to get your mandolin out, right?
We'll see. We'll see
right.
in my spare time. I think it takes time to learn how to play music, right?
It does.
And that's
yeah.
the thing. To be able to sit and actually practice or enjoy just the picking and
Picking and grinning.
Picking and grinning, I guess.
Yep.
So where did you get started?
I've been talking this up for 5-6 years, and I've talked to Chelsea Pope, the chamber
Yes.
executive, and Bonnie Dreyer, the Dallas Visitors Center.
They do so much for our community.
They do. They do a great job. And they said, Kurt, if you want to do it, just let us know when. So my wife let me retire a few years ago. And
That
I wrote
was nice of
yes,
her.
it was.
We owe her a debt, I think.
And so I wrote a proposal and took it to the Dallas Arts Association, which is a 501(c), and we are under that.
Oh, wonderful.
So we're under the festival's under the umbrella of
Well,
those
that's
folks.
a big help, right? Not to have
Yeah.
to start reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
So wonderful.
Well, we kind of had to reinvent the wheel because we started with a blank piece of paper.
Right.
But we did have a lot of inroads, which
And you
was
didn't
very
have
helpful.
to create a 501c3.
That
That's
was
huge.
huge. That was very huge. And they took the proposal, and I said, well, I'll do it if I can get 2 people. One is Sally Clark, who I've known for years, and I was in the Lucky Mute River Band with her, and she is actually the proprietor for Guthrie Park,
Oh, my goodness.
which is on the way to Falls City on the
Right.
highway there. Wonderful community center.
Yeah, I
We
hope to have them in here. And I mean, that's an amazing thing we have right here.
I'll get you 2 together.
Good.
And the other person was John Adams, great banjo player. He's currently in the band I'm in, the Orchard Mountain String Band. And from that, we've grown to a committee of 12 people
Oh, wonderful.
in total. And everybody has a specific job.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what about yourself as a musician? How early did you start?
I started when I was about 28 years old.
Really? So a little later in life?
Yeah, I was a
What influenced that?
Well, I was a hardcore rock and roller, you know, Jimi Hendrix, Stones. And when I got out of the military, I went to work in the woods, and the guy that drove the car, or the crummy, they say, listened to KWJJ, and it was a country station. And I thought, man, this is going to be a long summer, because he told me, don't touch that dial.
Oh,
By the end of the summer, I'm really liking Charlie Daniels,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff like that. So my grandma had my great-grandfather's fiddle, and so I asked Grandma, I said, if I learn to play it, can I have it? And she said, yeah. And so that's how I got started.
really?
Yeah.
And you just, did someone teach you or?
Yes, and I'd like to mention that lady. Her name is Jane Kiefer, wonderful lady. She taught a class through Shemeketa over in Dallas in '82, I think it was. And
What
got
kind of a fiddle class? Or
Well,
was it
she
a
taught fiddle and mandolin,
I see.
and then guitar players were also in there. And so she taught 3 terms, and that's how the Lucky Mute River String Band got
Is that
started.
right?
And a lot of other musicians.
And did you read music before that time?
I did. I played trumpet, you know, in junior
I
high.
did too.
and part high. Oh, really?
Started in the 5th grade.
Oh, that's when I started, 5th grade, yeah.
So you read the treble clef.
Yeah, and that skill was gone. But Jane taught a different method called tablature.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's a very simple way to play music.
Mm-hmm.
But we are actually honoring Jane with this festival by naming the main stage after her, and it's going to be called the Jane Kiefer Stage.
Because she had quite a wide influence, I'm gathering,
Yes,
of teaching musicians who ended up being in and around the area.
absolutely. And presides in Portland and is still doing it at the age of, well, I won't say. It's not polite.
She'll probably appreciate that.
And actually, Mama Ray's Bed and Breakfast
Yeah,
has been
Mama
very,
Ayers.
Mama Ayers, I'll get it right, has been gracious enough to host Jane to spend the night, and she's really excited about that.
Good.
So, great community partner.
Good. Yeah, we're so, so happy to have this festival going on. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the festival? I'm going to take a sip of water here.
Sure. We're going to have a food court, and in the food court we'll have El Pique doing Mexican food, and we have Oregon crepe, and we've got it's called The Press from Dallas doing coffee. Mickey Garris is doing some grilling, so that's going to be good. We got lots of great craft vendors, jewelry, garden artwork. People have cashmere goats. We're going to have spinners there that spin.
How wonderful.
As a demonstration, a lady from the Native American tribe out of the Grand Ronde is going to be doing baskets.
Is there an admission price?
The
Or
admission,
do you get it that day, the ticket?
yeah,
or-
it's only at the day. It's $10 entries, 12 under is free, but we're also supporting the local food bank.
Right.
And that's very important. So for $5 and 5 cans of food, you're into the festival and supporting that.
How wonderful.
Yes, yes. We're not out to make a living doing this festival because it's nonprofit, but you know we definitely want to help people out in the community
Oh,
the best we
that's
can.
wonderful.
And then the other thing I'd like to mention is we've had some wonderful sponsors. Number one, Wimpeg,
Yeah.
been great to us. KMUZ Radio out of Salem, KYAC out of the Canyon. Those are both community radio stations.
Isn't that something?
And we're going to be on the radio Friday night on KMUZ.org, streams live, for the Kayla Hour. And we're going to have Gary Berman there doing the Uilleann pipes for the Irish music. And then on Saturday, we're doing another live interview with Mashup Mark at 2 p.m. And we're going to have our warm-up band for Lisa Ornstein, Wild Hog in the Woods, on that. So
And do you have a website?
yes, we have a website. It's www.polkcountyfolklife. We also have a Facebook page by the same name. And
So if people need information, they can contact you that way.
absolutely, and all the contact emails are in there too.
Great.
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple other sponsors, like Bonaventure Senior Living has been a huge sponsor for us, and Dan Apperson, local man here. There's just been so many community sponsors. I couldn't list them all.
Isn't that wonderful? That must have been
Yes.
wonderful. Very
Yeah.
encouraging to think, oh, I have this idea, and so many people are
Yes.
excited about it.
Yes, in fact, the Polk County Itemizer Observer is another huge one. They're doing a lot of work for us
They do a
with
lot
their
of
paper.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I know. I just appreciate so much the breadth of culture and cultural activities that we have going on, and this is going to be huge. I'm very excited about this festival.
We'd like to say one more thing.
Do.
Last Friday was the Dallas's first Citizens Banquet, and they hand out 12 awards: First Citizen, Junior First Citizen, Most Improved Business. Well, I received the award for Excellence in the Arts.
Congratulations. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it was very exciting to receive that, but I received that on the behalf of 11 other people.
Right, and so the community, that just says to me, the community really recognizes and appreciates
Oh, yeah.
what you're doing.
Yes, and I appreciate the committee people. They're all my friends, and they're good people, and their heart's really in it.
That's wonderful. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be there. I'm going to volunteer. I'm
I
so
know you
excited.
are. I got your number, girl.
I'm so excited about this.
Yes.
Thank you, Kurt.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you for doing this for our community, and
bet.
thank you for bringing it, all these gifts and all these musicians forth for all of us to enjoy. And we look forward to it for years to come.
It's going to be even bigger and better the next year. We're going to go to a 2-day festival the
There
next
we
time
go.
around. All right.
Thank you very much for being with us. Hope you'll get information about this festival coming right up, right here in our community. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with another fascinating musician. Welcome back to Polk Salad. Thank you so much for hanging in with us today. You will not be sorry. We have one of the most exciting people in our whole community here. Dr. Keller Coker is here with us today. He does so many things that I can't even begin to tell you about him. But one of the main reasons I asked him to be here is because he is responsible for the Smith Fine Arts Series and the performers that come here through that series from all over the world. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit today and anything else you'd like to talk about. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you,
Welcome.
Terry.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here because you are so busy. You know, I know a lot of busy people. I like to say people with full lives, right? It sounds better. I know a lot of people with full lives, and I was thinking about this morning, you may be the one with the fullest. that I know, because you're composing, you're teaching, you're traveling, you're conducting, you're writing.
There's always something to do. There's
So
something to
before we
do
talk
every
about
day.
the Smith Fine Arts,
Sure.
I wanted to ask you how you, because you do play music, right?
I do.
You play the trombone.
I love playing the trombone.
And so when did that
yeah.
start?
Well, I started playing trombone in 7th grade, and it was, I mean, it was great. It was actually it was the last day of 7th grade. My best friend had been in band all year, and I missed him because I wasn't in band. So I went to the band director and said,
Is that right?
What do you need? And he said, I could use a trombone.
Is that
so
right?
I took up the trombone, and I just never looked back.
So you didn't come from a family of musicians.
No.
So you had to practice that whole summer, I'm guessing, or not?
I practiced. I was terrified because everyone had been in band for 2 or 3 years, and
Right.
and so I took lessons and I practiced, and when I showed up, it all worked out.
That means you're good. But did you read music before that time?
No.
No.
I'm, maybe just like sitting down at the piano and trying to figure
Yeah,
things out,
yeah.
and
That's impressive.
But it's reading music. I think is something that you can learn pretty quickly.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean it's there on the page, and
It
you
must
just
be if we learn it in the 5th grade.
you
know,
do,
and if you've never done it before.
one step at a time. It's this is I've been thinking about this a lot lately. That for as long as anyone can remember, the ability to read music has kind of been the thing that musicians are judged by, and I'm not so sure that that's the best measure of a musician. I mean, I'm glad that I can read it, but also I'm certain I could teach anyone who loves music to read music very quickly.
Right.
And so,
And a lot of musicians feel it. I mean, I come from
For sure.
a long line of musicians who sit around on the porch and learn how to pick pretty well and sing and all that stuff.
once that starts, you don't want it to stop.
Right.
Once that music from the heart, music that people hear and have been hearing their lives, and then they imitate it. I mean, that's just some of the most powerful music.
I know
and
it.
so,
That's
yeah.
soul music.
Yeah.
All right, so Smith Fine Arts. I don't want to leave that out because I could go on with you for days about everything you're doing.
I'm
the Smith
here as
Fine
long
Arts-
as you want me.
The Smith Fine Arts series here is singular to Western Oregon University. Tell us a little bit about the series.
Well, the series is in its 36th year.
Amazing.
So, it's gone through a number of different directors and who've all done amazing jobs at maintaining a fine arts series in any environment, in good economic times or bad economic times, is a difficult task. And so the fact that the series is here and that it's been supported by the university, the faculty, staff, and particularly now the students are incredibly supportive, and the community. It's really something special that we have. So every year, anywhere from 4 to this year, there are seven artists come and do their bring their music to our
Right.
community. They
And when
work
you say
with our
artists,
students.
you mean not just a singular. Sometimes they're groups, right?
Oh, often.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So, it could be anyone from a soloist, a classical solo guitar player, to a big band,
Right.
or a rock and roll band from the '70s. It could be,
Mm-hmm.
the music of our world. It's a big world, and it's a big musical world, and through the work of the board and of the Smith Fine Arts, we do everything we can to bring as much music to Monmouth as we can.
I know you do. And one of the things that I love about the series is that it's not just about bringing us a performance to entertain us. These groups actually work with students here on campus,
Yes.
or
so
even in surrounding elementary schools or what have you.
that's true. We nearly every concert has some kind of an educational outreach component, or a collaborative component where artists will come in and the performance will include students and faculty and community members. So the Mid-Willamette Valley is represented very well when musicians come here and hit the stage and work up oftentimes partially a new show or maybe even an entirely new show with the musicians here in our community. They leave here and they go and talk about Monmouth and Independence and Salem and Oregon.
Right.
And
Because they're from everywhere. The Russian string quartet.
that's right, yeah.
Brazilian music, we have everything.
Every continent except for Antarctica, I guess.
And that's one of the things I love too, and I wanted to ask you about. I don't know this, but it seemed like the series used to was it rooted in classical performances only? Because it's so diverse now. I mean, we have some of that.
I think the goal of the series has always been to be diverse.
I see.
And different executive directors have different styles or different connections, and also the board, which currently has 18 members. They have a very strong voice, and I mean, it's if an artist comes and the show's a flop, I hear about that quick.
I bet you do.
It happens right away,
I bet you do.
and learn from it,
Right.
and move forward. So I think there's always been an attempt for it to be a diverse series.
And how is the series funded? Because you have to pay these artists, right?
That's
they don't
true.
come for free.
It's all expensive. So the series is funded through the fundraising efforts of the Smith Fine Arts Board and other volunteers. There's a big auction that happens that gets support from the entire state with donations for auction items
The last Sunday
and
in July,
sponsors,
right?
and that is the last Sunday of
That's
July.
such a fun event.
And it's fun. This year it's going to be a 1940s theme, and so it's always the food's great, and there's music, and there's all kinds of ways to contribute, and so then ticket sales.
Right.
Which would constitute maybe a third of the budget. So between fundraising and ticket sales, and then the Associated Students of Western Oregon University, ASWOU, and have generously supported the series for the last few years, and have really shown their support.
That says a lot to me. That those students are pretty, responsible with their budgeting and listening to what's going on campus. So I imagine from that it means that there are many students who are affected by the series and want to keep it, see it keep moving.
Many, whether you're an audience member. And we, in a 600-seat auditorium, we'll get 100 to 150 students at every show, and then students who will, who will attend the outreach, and if you're a WOU student, those tickets are free to you.
Isn't that something?
So I mean, the support that the student government has shown, I mean, it just makes perfect sense.
Amazing.
So any WOU student, and I would love to see community members scrambling to get tickets because so many students, are there to fill the hall.
Right.
That'd be incredible.
So this 600, that's Rice Auditorium, right?
Yes.
Most of the events happen right there at Rice.
Yes.
And they mostly happen on a weekend or...
It depends on
typically-
when the artist can come through, but I always try to I try to get Fridays, whenever I can. Fridays, Saturdays, Thursdays.
Because I don't know because I don't know the music business, but you're basically acting as a producer here. Is that right? Where you're bringing in, you're working with agents and contracts and sometimes divas. I don't know. We won't mention any names.
No.
But, people who come, they have big careers. They're known
Yes.
commodities. And if they're going to come here, we have to
we have
sort of
Grammy winners
Yes,
every season,
right?
multiple Grammy winners, and every musician is in a different place in their musicality and their career the history of their career path. They're all in a different place, and yeah, just even how comfortable they were traveling to get here can affect everything. And then of course agents and managers and promoters,
And food,
publicists,
and
and
practice time.
all of this, you know, and I love it. You know,
Yeah.
it's great.
How do you know how to do that? Because you're a college professor.
Well, that's true.
Most college professors wouldn't automatically know how to produce these big names.
I suppose it's true. I suppose nobody automatically knows how to do it. But before I was at Western, I lived in Los Angeles, and I was very heavily involved in the recording industry, and I ran a classical record label for 2 years, and booked groups and performed, and really kind of learned from the artist side how things work. So when I was given the opportunity to present artists here and other places, it was a fairly smooth transition, because I
You've
know
done it
what.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on the other side of the contract.
Interesting. So, did you grow up here in Salem area?
I was born in Salem and went through high school in Salem, and then spent a year at Mount Hood Community College. Instead of my senior year of high school, I was at Mount Hood, and that was
With music.
with music.
So
Oh
you
yeah.
just 7th grade and took off.
I really within a year. I was performing professionally within a year. So
Amazing.
it was, and the first time, it was a Dixieland gig at Pietro's Pizza on South Commercial, and here I was, 14 years old, and somebody paid me and gave me food
Wow.
to
At
take my
14?
trombone out of the case and make music, and from that night on, I've never looked back.
Right? How'd you end up in LA?
I got a really great offer to go to USC and study music in their jazz studies program. It was the first year of their jazz studies program, and so really in on the ground floor and at a great music school in a big, powerful musical city. And so I was there for almost 15 years.
15 years. Wow, no wonder you bring so much to us here at Western. Love that, all that experience. Our guest that we had on right before you, Kurt, is like a bluegrass player, but he mentioned that, he grew up a heavy rock and roller. And I wondered, because I know, I never was a heavy rock and roller, but I know that now I know the Grateful Dead, who I think of as just, the supreme rock and rollers, really had their basis much in folk music and bluegrass and all that stuff, which I didn't really know, And so it seems like with musicians, the love of music prevails over genres, and there's
Yes.
a big appreciation. Now, that being said, do you have a favorite genre?
Oh, it's
Or is it not?
I get
you
asked,
just can't?
all the time, and there's really there's no way, particularly when you lead a musical life where your job is music and it's a lifetime occupation. You get exposed to so many things that it really is impossible. Now, all that being said, last night I listened to Henry Nielsen records for 3 hours and was just blown away by it.
And what does Henry Nielsen play?
Henry Nielsen was a singer-songwriter in the early 1970s, and wrote all kinds of songs, hit songs.
Nielsen.
Yeah, Nielsen. And so, and last night I was listening to his Henry Nielsen Sings Randy Newman.
Oh.
And this record was incredible.
Interesting.
And so, but then the day before, a student had commented on Facebook about some Renaissance music that I had just, barely exposed them to in a music history class. And now they've said that that's some of their favorite music. And so I went straight to iTunes and put on the Ockeghem Missa Prolationum and listened to,
I don't know what that is, but that's
so it's this 15th century Flemish music. So beautiful.
So basically, you like all genres of music, and you introduce your students to as many as you can, I would guess?
As many as I can, and well, me and the world.
Right.
I mean, the music is everywhere.
But you
there's
teach
so
the
much
history
access.
of music. Is
But
that
I do
true?
teach. Yeah, I do teach music history, and and so everything from the latest, who just won the Grammys, back to the music of the Renaissance and the Middle Ages, and there was a student who just on Facebook the other day mentioned a Renaissance piece, and inspired me to go back and listen to that piece, because it's been a couple of years since I've listened to it.
I love some, I don't know, Gregorian chants. I love Baroque, but I don't know a lot about it. I just know what I like.
You don't, yeah, exactly. That's all it is for anybody. I mean, if we actually think we really know anything about music, it's we're kind of kidding ourselves.
Because it's pretty.
I mean, really, until the invention of recording, we don't know what anything sounded like. We can make some guesses. There's some paper that survives and a few manuals. But if you went today to a music store and say bought a piece of sheet music for a Rolling Stones tune, and then just performed that piece of sheet music exactly how it looks, it would sound nothing like the Rolling Stones.
Because they're bringing themselves to it. And talking about the history of music, there are ancient writs, which I'm sure you know, like the Bible even talks about the music of the spheres.
Oh, the music of the
spheres.
spheres.
What is that?
Sure.
I don't know.
Exactly.
There's music that's happening, and even now I hear people doing bio recordings of, water and animals, and noticing rhythms and patterns and all of those things. It's just kind of all magical and amazing.
It's, I love the definition of music that was given to me a long time ago, which is sound perceived as art.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that lets each one of us determine what music means and what music is to us.
That's true.
So music could be a tree falling in the woods, unless no one hears it, of course.
A frog singing, right? Yeah.
And it could be anything, or it could be Elvis Costello singing Allison. Whatever.
I was at the April Virch concert, who's one of the Smith Fine Arts performers, and there was a bass, a fiddle, and a guitar, and it just struck me. They were all playing, and it was so dynamic. It's so wonderful and so humble. They're so humble and amazing musicians.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, they're all three playing basically on boxes with strings. Come on. Who thought this? You know what I mean?
That's right.
And perfected these bodies of boxes all these years. I mean, we can't sit here and give a world history class on music, but I just think it's so fascinating.
It's
the
true.
whole concept that we could just hit on something and all of a sudden it's music.
It starts to become something else.
Isn't that amazing?
It's magic.
It is. I think it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about it, but I sing in the shower all the time.
That's good.
So is there anything else you'd like to say about the Smith Fine Arts series, or where it's going, or who's coming, or?
Well, we've got 2 more shows this season. So the first weekend in April, we've got Dr. Lonnie Smith, who's one of the great Hammond B3 organ players. Soulful, funky. I mean, he played with Aretha Franklin, hundreds of soul artists, and he's very dynamic on stage, and so he's coming with his trio. And then the week after that, we've got a Blue Note recording artist, a soul singer, young soul singer, who's also really delving into not just classic soul, but really on the forefront of soul music, and but also jazz too. He's been. I just caught a YouTube video of him singing "Lush Life," Billy Strayhorn's "Lush Life."
Wow.
So I think this concert's going to be a real treat, and he'll be backed by the American Metropole Orchestra. So he'll have 40 pieces behind him, and
Tell us
that'll
just
be fun.
briefly about the American Metropole, because
Sure.
that's an amazing concept that I haven't seen before.
Sure, it's their symphony orchestras will often do pops concerts, and they're popular. They work with popular music. The American Metropole Orchestra is an orchestra that's dedicated to popular music. So rather than having its roots in classical music, its roots are in pop music. And so there's really only one other orchestra like it in the world, and it's in the Netherlands, and it's the Metropole Orchestra.
Oh.
So that's the original.
And the American Metropole Orchestra is right here on this campus, right?
Yes, well that's my it's my group. I founded it 7 years ago, and it's it's just fun.
And you compose the music to back some of these artists.
Well, I certainly I supervise the music. I'll compose some of it, but I've got a staff of 5 to 6 writers that will and we'll put these shows together, because many of these artists don't have the music written out for that particular instrumentation or size of a group, and so we orchestrate it or adapt it and make that happen, and we have all kinds of fun doing that with them.
Wow. And the orchestra consists of who?
Well,
Faculty?
there's faculty and professional musicians from the Willamette Valley, all the way, from Portland all the way down to Southern Oregon, and string players. Many come from the coast. I always try to include some students, and then oftentimes recent graduates are involved as well.
And then there's also a student-based group, right?
Right. So
That
would
gets
be
to back these Grammy-winning
that also
popular
happens.
artists.
It's true. The Western Hemisphere Orchestra is a class here at Western Oregon University, and it runs with exactly the same concept. So really, hard driving American music, really North
that
and
these
South
students
American
get
music.
to put on their resume. I played with Alan
yeah.
Toussaint, or I played with Martha Reeves,
That's
whatever.
right. That's how it works.
The music department is giving these students such experience. I guess that's why we see students coming from all over the place to Western.
They do, you
Yeah.
know, and I remember when I was in college having those kinds of opportunities, but that was in Los Angeles, and so it was a little bit easier for USC to make that happen. And I remember building my resume. The first time it happened was my freshman year, backing up this great trombone player, Bill Watrous, at the time the best trombone player in the world, and that's been on my resume ever since.
Wow.
And so when I got here, I immediately started looking for opportunities to do the same thing. And these students that are now here in Monmouth are building resumes that students in Los Angeles are envious of.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
a
just
wonderful thing.
love that.
Thank you very much for bringing that to Western Oregon University. I love this community, and I love this campus, and in great part because of educators, professors, people like you who bring this wealth of experience and pass it on.
And there are
just keep
so many,
passing it on.
so many
Right.
great colleagues here, so many
Right.
great professors doing all kinds of incredible work.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your work with the Smith Fine Arts. It affects so many of us.
Well, you're welcome.
And it's a real gift.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here with us and for this great interview. Hang on for a second, and we'll be right back. So I bet you're glad you hung on to your chair for those interviews, right? Some amazing people with big hearts, with big levels of talent and ability, huge skill sets in playing, producing, enjoying, and sharing music with us in our community. So I hope you take the time to check out the Polk County Folk Life Festival and also the Smith Fine Arts Series. Both can be found online, and hope to see you at those events in the future. And thanks very much again for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, I will for sure see you around town.